And we are now recording, so I'd like to welcome you once again to the Wild Apricot software overview. My name is Jay, and I am known as the Noisy Apricot. I am in charge of marketing here at Wild Apricot. And for the bulk of the presentation, I'm going to throw it over to Frank, our fresh apricot, and a member of our support team. So take it away, Frank.
Thanks, Jay. All right, I think everyone will probably agree we should just get started right away. And so what I'm actually doing today is I'm going to be taking you through Wild Apricot start to finish so you can just get a big picture view of how everything fits together and maybe how Wild Apricot can work for your organization. But the three most important things to remember is that if you do want to find it for yourself, Wild Apricot is completely free to try and there's nothing to install. So anyone within your organization can set up a Wild Apricot account and you can all use the same account to test out all these features. And it's also important to keep in mind that all these features were designed specifically for organizations or member-based organizations and associations. So you'll see a lot of really time-saving or headache-reducing features inside Wild Apricot that are going to address a lot of the pains I think you might be currently experiencing. And if you are learning about Wild Apricot, you can always give us a call or send us an email if you need any help or any clarification about how anything works at all. And also, of course, currently Wild Apricot has over 3,700 organizations that trust Wild Apricot to host their membership data and websites. So you're definitely within good company, and there's a lot of people already using Wild Apricot. Now, we won't have too many charts in this presentation, but I did just want to go over a couple quick things that we do track on a regular basis. We track our reliability, our ease of use, and our technical support. So these are the three sort of core things that we're always on top of to make sure that everyone's getting the best experience out of Wild Apricot. And so now let's actually take a big picture view of what we're going to be covering during this webinar. So what we're actually going to do is something I think that might be something that everyone's going to go through. You're going to see just how easily you can actually bring your membership data into Wild Apricot and then the different ways that you can start using that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an Excel spreadsheet of our current members and contacts. We're going to import that into Wild Apricot. We're going to give a couple different administrators some different access and different roles so that different people have access to different options within inside the Wild Apricot account. And then we're also going to use that same membership and contact list to actually generate an email so that we can send out a newsletter for the demo website that we're creating here. And then, of course, we're also going to explore how all of this looks and feels from the member's point of view. So we're going to log in as a member and maybe change some of our privacy options, as well as update some of the fields, because within Wild Apricot, all of your members have the option to update their own information, so you're not always having to do that yourself. And then also we'll look at some of the basic setups for events and donations, as well as how the membership management aspect about Wild Apricot is actually set up so that you can automate some of the most time-consuming tasks that you're currently having to do manually. And so now, without further ado, let's actually just open up a Wild Apricot account right here. So the first time you log into your Wild Apricot account, this is what you'll see. You'll see your dashboard. And always keep in mind that you can always access your Wild Apricot account through the free website address that we give you, that you can see in the website address bar here. But this is also something you can customize if you do decide to upgrade to a paid plan. You can actually insert your own custom domain name into your Wild Apricot account. So now let's actually just take a quick overview of the different sections of the Wild Apricot. We just saw here's our dashboard overview, which gives us a summary of some of the different things happening within our account. For instance, our contact totals, some upcoming events that might need some attention, as well as some of the activity from our members and administrators. And next we have the Contacts tab, and what we can access from here is actually our entire contacts database within Wild Apricot. And I think here's actually a good time to think of an important distinction within Wild Apricot, which is that of contact versus member. Now, in Wild Apricot, everyone is actually considered what we call a contact, but some of those contacts also have a membership or a subscription assigned to them, and that's what in essence turns them into members in the system. And from here, we could also search for any of our members or any of our contacts quickly and easily, either using a basic search or an advanced search that allows us to add multiple criteria if we're really looking for a specific subsection of our members. Next, also a fully fledged built-in website editor. So instead of having to use a separate program to do all these separate things, for instance with the Wild Apricot, as well as having a database to manage your contacts and members, you also have a built-in website editor so you can publish content immediately to your website. We also have the ability for you to add and manage events. So this includes setting up multiple prices, different access for your members and the public, and we'll explore all those options in just a few moments. And next we have the Members tab, and here is a list of our contacts again, but in this context it's just to give you the list of those contacts that are also assigned a membership level. And if you're an association that's accepting donations, we also give you the ability to create a donation form where you can accept donations online. This does include obviously an online payment component as well. And finally, I think one of the most important aspects of Wild Apricot is because we allow you to do all these things, we allow you to accept online membership applications, we allow you to process events and donations, you definitely want to have some sort of handle on the history of all these things. So we actually have a financial management component within Wild Apricot that will keep a very detailed history of all the different transactions that are going on in your account. And finally, we also have a settings tab for all the different settings for actually creating and managing your Wild Apricot account. But now, actually, let's get started with perhaps one of the most impressive things is actually bringing your membership data over from your existing solution. So maybe you might be using something else to manage your members. We find a lot of people are still managing their members with an Excel spreadsheet. But no matter, so long as you can get your current membership or contact list into an Excel spreadsheet, you'll be able to bring that into Wild Apricot very easily. So first what I'll do is just under contacts here, I'll go to import. Now I'll select the membership or contact list that I want to import, and then select upload. And now, before I actually do continue with this upload, let's first take a quick look at our current membership list just to see what the original data looks like and how it's going to get transferred into our Wild Apricot account. So here we have our current member and contact list. What you'll see is we have some pretty straightforward columns. We have a first name, last name, email, cell phone, and membership level column. And we have rows of data for each of our members, for the members that do have information that relates to any of those specific columns. But if we take a look at some of our records here, what we'll actually notice is some records don't have a membership level assigned to them, and some don't even have an email address assigned to them. But what we can actually do with these is we can treat these as just as some context that we're storing within our Wild Apricot database. And maybe these are people that are just going to subscribe to a newsletter, or maybe they're just people who we still need to assign a membership. But this just gives you a quick idea that you can actually bring in both your members and any contacts or newsletter subscribers into your Wild Apricot account. So now we'll actually go back to Wild Apricot. In the first step of the import, what we need to identify is whether or not the first row of our import file actually contains column headers. And if we actually just pull up our Excel spreadsheet quickly again, we'll see that yes, our first row does indeed contain column headers. And now the handy thing that we can do with these is we can actually use these column headers to automatically create labels for all the fields that we're importing. And so now just be a moment while Wild Apricot actually processes the information in that spreadsheet. And here you'll see, just like we had in our original file, we have a first name column with some sample data from the file that we're importing, as well as last name, email, cell phone, and membership level. So it looks like everything from the file was successfully imported. Now, of course, this is a fairly simple file. Your membership file might actually have a lot more columns of information than this, but that's nothing to worry about because Wild Apricot can import all the information that you're currently storing inside your Excel spreadsheet. So first, let's actually look at how we process these individual rows. One thing you might notice is when some rows are actually already matched with one of the fields that we're asked to map to. That's because by default, Wild Apricot also has some system or default fields already loaded into each account. So you could just choose, for instance, to map first name to first name, last name to last name. Again, there's an automatic match, and the same is true for email. Now, this email is also important because for your members, their email is also used as their login. So you want to make sure that you map the email to the current Wild Apricot system email field. But now here we actually see something different. For our cell phone, it doesn't look like it was able to match it to anything. So we actually have to select that we want to import that. And when we do select import it, it's going to ask us one of two things. Do we want to create a new contact field, or do we want to create a new member-only field? Now, a good rule of thumb to use here is if the field that you're about to create or the information that you're recording only applies to your members, or it's only information you're recording about your members, then you select only for members. But if it's a piece of information like a general phone number, or perhaps a first or last name, or something that general that you expect to be collecting from everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean your event attendees, people making donations, people subscribing to a newsletter, then you select for contacts. But in this context, I think we only really want to collect this cell phone information for our members. And once we've selected what type of field we want to create, we could also choose to name it. But in this case, it's used our current name as the default suggestion, and that should work fine for us. And then it'll also ask us what type of field we want to create. So for instance, we could create a text field, a drop-down field, a multiple choice field. These are all options. But in this case, it's a simple text field. And finally, we also do have the option to make it for internal use, because many organizations are also tracking a lot of information that they don't need to share with their members, but they do need to track about their members. We could choose to have this only be visible to administrators, but I think the members should have access to this and be able to update it, so we'll just leave it as is now. And finally, we have a membership level field. And now this is also another very important system field, because this will actually map or create, in some instances, our membership levels, or the different levels of membership you have, or the different price points you have for your membership. Now, when you're actually importing your membership level, you have two options. You have the option to ignore all the values that are not currently set up as membership levels inside your Wild Apricot account. Now, I'm going to assume that for whatever reason you haven't used Wild Apricot before and you haven't set up any membership levels yet. So what we actually want to do is we want to add new levels into Wild Apricot for each one that it finds. So for instance, I'm not sure if you can read this here, but in our import file, we've set up a couple different names for our membership levels. We have bronze, free, gold, silver, and these are just some of the different membership levels that we're recording for our members. You might have different names for your membership levels, and you can definitely choose whatever you're currently using. So what's actually going to happen here is every time, for every record Wild Apricot is processing, it's going to create a new membership level every time it finds a new value. So for instance, when it finds the gold value, it's going to create a new membership level. But if it sees another gold value, it's just going to use the one that are just created. So now I think all of our settings here look pretty good. So we'll continue to the next step. And so this is actually the step that's just before actually importing the data. So up until this step, we actually haven't brought any of the data in. We've just told Wild Apricot how we're going to handle it. And also just make a quick note about what the import was. And now what's actually going to be happening is Wild Apricot is going to be row by row processing all this data and actually bringing it into Wild Apricot, so you're not having to do any of this yourself manually. And that just took, I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 seconds. And now we have all of our 25 records imported into Wild Apricot. And it also tells us that we had 20 new member records created. Now the difference here, if you remember, is we actually had a few records where we didn't have a membership level assigned to them. So these aren't members, they're just contacts. But they're still imported, but they're just not members because there's no membership level assigned to them. So now let's actually take from this screen right here, let's just click on the link to our 20 new members, just to see what this actually looks like in Wild Apricot. So just like in perhaps an Excel spreadsheet program, you have your rows and columns of all information. And here, if we take a quick look, we can actually see that everything has been successfully imported. And we also have the option to actually click on and view individual member records, so we can start to understand how the information is really stored in Wild Apricot. And you'll also note that that custom information that wasn't available yet in the Wild Apricot account was actually already created too. So we have our custom cell phone field here with the correct cell phone for that member already loaded. But now the great thing about Wild Apricot is you'll actually have different pieces of information that you can record for each member within one area. So for this member, if I wanted to see what his current membership status was, when his next renewal was due, any events that he attended, any donations, any of his email subscriptions, his current privacy settings for the website, as well as any maybe photos that he's added, I can see all of this just from one area quickly and easily, and make any adjustments if I need to. And so I think that touches on the first aspect of actually bringing members into Wild Apricot. Now let's actually dig a little deeper into how we set up our membership within Wild Apricot. So if we jump over to settings, the first thing we can actually do is we can set up our membership levels. And so, for instance, the first thing we see is that we have some of the different membership levels that we created during the import. For instance, gold, free, silver, and bronze. Those are all membership levels that came from our import file, much like yours might. So let's actually take a look at our gold members just to see how we can actually set up the different price points and renewal policies for these members. So here we see we have our gold members. And currently we've set them to an individual membership level. Now what this means is in Wild Apricot you have the distinction to offer either individual memberships where one person is signing up and that's the membership that they're joining, or you can create what are called bundle memberships, or what you might think of as corporate or family memberships where there's actually more than one person who's included in that membership. But in this case our gold members are just for individuals. And we'll set a membership fee of $500. Now, you might be asking, $500, what is this, $500 per month, $500 per year? These are all options that you can set up in your renewal policy. So for instance, first of all, you could set up a renewal policy where the membership never renews, so it's an indefinite membership. But of course, I think most people are operating on either a monthly or quarterly or an annual membership. And so for each of these options, you can set up whether or not you want to base this membership on the join date or when that member joins, and then it may be, that they can go for 12 months up until that point, or from a specific date if you prefer to track your membership from a specific date like the 1st or the 15th of the month. And the same options those are also the same options that we have for both quarterly and our yearly or annual membership levels. You can choose a join date or a specific date, and again, you can do that for either 1 year or multiple years, depending on how your current membership is set up and how you can map it into Wild Apricot. And so that's sort of the general settings for setting up your membership. The thing you might find in other solutions as well, but I think something that really differentiates us from others is our automation. So there's just a lot of work involved in running an organization, and sometimes everyone's a bit stressed for time. So anything you can use to really save you time can really be helpful. So for instance, let's say that you wanted to stay on top of all your members, and you want to make sure they all get reminders to renew their membership, so you'll increase the likelihood of them renewing. You can set all these up automatically one time in Wild Apricot, and you don't have to worry about them again. So now for our gold members, for instance, we could say 14 days before their renewal date, we want to send them this custom email. Now this email that I'm highlighting here is actually something you can customize and insert your own images and pictures and text so that your members are getting a really nice looking email that reminds them to renew their membership. Now that's 14 days before their membership. What if you want to send them another reminder if they still hadn't renewed? And that's an important point here, is that these reminders will only be sent if they haven't renewed yet, so you won't be bothering your members either with emails that aren't really relevant to them. But so yeah, if they still haven't moved or they still haven't renewed, then we can choose to send them another email, and again we can customize that email as well. And finally, now let's actually look at the flip side. Let's say, unfortunately, for whatever reason, our multiple reminders haven't convinced them or haven't motivated them to renew. You can also decide what should happen if they don't renew by the time their renewal date. For instance, you could change their renewal period, you could change their membership level, maybe you want to downgrade them to a free level, and you can also choose to send them an email to let them know that this has happened and why it's happened. And of course, even if it's past the renewal date, they can still log in and actually process their renewal. So it's not like they'll be locked out unless that's what you choose to do. And so that's actually how we handle renewals. We should also definitely look into how much you handle first-time members or member applications or new applications. First of all, we actually have options for prorating membership. So maybe depending on when someone joins, you want to give them a little bit of savings with their current membership. And you may also decide whether or not you want to automatically approve memberships or should an administrator first approve all membership applications before the members are actually given access to their member-only content, like their profiles and other content. And that's sort of your quick run through of how you actually set up each of all your individual membership levels. So you can actually go through and do this for all your membership levels and just do it once, and then you wouldn't actually have to do it again because it would just keep running with whatever the settings that you created. And now during our import, we actually did create a custom field, our cell phone field. But now let's actually take a look at all the options that are available to us when we're creating fields. So to do that, I went to Settings and then Membership Fields. And here we have a list of all the current fields. You could remove these or add your own as you see fit. But let's actually just take a look at some of the options we have. And to do that, I'll just click on the Add New Field button. And the first thing you'll see is that we actually have multiple types to work with. So you can really collect a diverse amount of information from your members, but you can also keep consistent so that you don't have one person entering in a full state name and another person entering an abbreviation. You can keep all the information very consistent. We have multiple options, like see, multiple choice, multi-line text, radio options. There are also two special options, which are extra charges multiple choice and extra charges radio buttons. What these actually allow you to do is to add on additional fees to your membership. So when someone's applying, they could actually also check off to get a T-shirt for $5 or to get something else for a cost that you define. And of course, we also have a picture field, which will allow your members to either upload photos or logos or any other images that you'd like them to add. And we also do actually have some other features that allow them to create their own personal photo albums if that's something you want to offer. Again, this is all customizable, and you decide what you want your members to be able to do. And then for each of your fields, you can also specify whether or not it's mandatory. So there's some information, I think, that you definitely need, like a first and last name and a phone number perhaps, or an email. And there might be some other information specific to your organization that you want to collect, and you can do that for each field. But even better, because I think you actually have a couple different things here. There might be information that you really absolutely need and want to get during the membership application, and then there might be other information that's nice to have, but you don't necessarily want to bother them during the membership application. So you can actually decide this under member access. You can say whether or not a field should be included during the membership application, or if it should only be included in their profile. So when they log into their profile and they're making updates, they might see some extra fields that you've added for some information that you'd optionally like to have from them, but isn't necessary during the membership application. Or you could also decide that this field is actually something that maybe you yourself are editing, but you don't want them to have access to edit, but you want them to be able to see it. You could choose to have a view-only field, which would only give them access to view the information but not edit it. And of course, you could also be creating some information that you don't want them to see. It's purely for your own personal records, for your organization, and maybe you want other administrators to be able to see it, but it's not for them. You can choose to create what's called an internal use field. And then you can also decide who else can access this field. Can other members see it? Can no one see it? Or can anybody see it? You can set this for each and every one of your fields. So again, you're in full control of what gets shared, where, and with whom. And then finally, you can also decide which membership levels this field should be available for. So there might be some information that you really want from your gold members, and there might be other information that really isn't relevant to them. It might only be relevant to your free members. You can decide and make the best form for everyone, so you're not having to give everyone the same generic form. You can customize it for everyone. And that's essentially it. That's how all of our fields work. They're really powerful, and they should allow you to pretty much collect any information that you're looking to collect from your members. And so now let's just recap what we've done so far. We've brought all of our contacts and our members into our Wild Apricot database. We've also set up some of our membership levels, defined our prices and renewal policy, and we also added some custom new fields for our membership forms. So now actually let's put all of this together and start actually working on the website to create some of the pieces that can display this information. And so whenever we're working on our website, we always go to the Web Pages tab. And so now, for instance, let's say I want to get started with my membership application page. What I could do is I could go to Page Management, click on Add New Page, and you can call your pages anything you want. You don't have to worry about any extensions or special file names. You can just name it whatever you'd like to have appear in the menu. And then we'll select a type for that page. And as you can see, we have a lot of different options here. We have the option to create a discussion forum, a member directory, an events calendar, a blog, a forum, a subscription form, a lot of different things. But right now, we're actually going to focus on the member member application. And we want anyone to have access to this, so we'll just mark off anybody for access. And now we'll save all our changes. And that's actually it. That's all we need to do to create that page. So now let's go and edit that page to see what options we have. So we'll click Edit Settings, and here we see we could add some basic content, but we could also choose which membership levels we want to appear on this membership application. And so here, for instance, we only see two options. Now the reason for that is that for all of our membership levels, we can also define if the public can apply or not. And so in this case, we only have two membership levels where the public can actually apply, the premium and regular membership. So we'll just leave all levels selected. And that's all we actually need to do to set up our membership application. But now let's actually take a look to see what that membership application looks like for our public visitors or perhaps even our potential members. So here we see, if I clicked on the Join Today page I created, here we have the two options, premium membership and regular membership. I'm definitely interested in the premium membership. And so here we have that form with all those fields that we created. So I could just quickly fill this out. And here you see also that your members have the option to create their own password during sign up. And so now you'll notice those are all the mandatory fields, and here are all the optional ones, like a personal photo, job title, address. This is all the information that you could be collecting from your members. And now we'll just enter the security code. And now, just like your members, they'd see a confirmation screen to see all the information is correct. And if they needed to, they could go back and edit anything that was correct. But in this case, everything looks good. So I'll just continue with confirm. And so now see, because our membership level requires administrators to first accept and approve memberships, it's still, my membership application is still pending approval. And as soon as that's approved, I would receive an email saying that my membership's been approved, along with the links to access things like my profile. But so there we actually had a membership application. Let's take a look to see what that looks like from the administrator's point of view. So we'll log back into our administrative panel. And now the great thing about Wild Apricot, you'll notice what I did there, is you can actually log in from the same place as your members. So your administrators, your members, they're all logging in from the same place, so there's no special URLs or anything you need to memorize. So now we'll go over to our Members tab, and what we'll see here is we actually have one new membership application, and that was the one that I just completed. So let's actually take a quick look at that. And now in this case, this was actually a manual membership application. And when I say manual, what I mean is it's a membership application that didn't include online payment. So we're actually waiting for this payment to come in so that we can continue to process it. And to sort of exemplify or to explain this point a little more, I'm actually just going to jump back to our slides quickly and show you the difference between what happens when someone does an online payment versus what happens when someone does an offline payment. So now let's say you've gone ahead and either inserted PayPal, Authorize.net, or Google Checkout as your payment processor inside Wild Apricot. Well, what would actually happen is if you had a member apply, they would fill out all the forms and all the fields like they do regularly. They would select the option to pay online, which would become visible once you add your online payments. And then what would happen is the payment processor would process their payment, and if they manage to process successfully, then they'll be returned to your site with a thank you message saying their membership application and payment have been received. And then depending on what your settings are, it would either automatically approve that member, or you'd have to approve it in the administrative panel. But what actually also is happening when this happens is as soon as they submit that membership application, a contact record will be created for them, and their current membership status will be marked as in progress. But the instant that that payment is actually received and processed through your account, that in progress will be changed to active. But at the same time, you'll also automatically generate an invoice for this so that you'll have a complete financial history for this member. And so now I'll just give you a brief moment to look at that, and now let's compare what actually happens when someone's doing a manual payment, or the type of payment that I just did where I didn't actually do any online payments. So much like the previous step, we have a new member, perhaps John here. He fills out the form, but during the final stage he actually selects manual as his option. What he'll see is he'll see a thank you message saying that his membership application has been received, and you may include your own payment instructions. But now what's going to happen with his record is it's going to stay in progress, and then you might wait a couple weeks for his check to arrive. You get his check, and then what you'll do is you'll look up his record, you'll look up this invoice that was generated, but unlike the online one, his invoice will actually have a total due on it, so you can actually record a payment against this outstanding balance. If it was a partial payment, you could record a partial payment, but in this case, he paid his full membership dues, so you could record it as fully paid, and once it was recorded, you could activate his membership, and then he would be an active member just like that online member was active automatically. And so again, that's exactly what we see here. So let's say that, yep, we got his check, so we want to go ahead and record his payment. And we can keep any notes that we wanted here. But for now, we'll just record the tender or the type of payment that it was. In this case, it was a check. And then we'll save, and then we'll see that he's also fully paid. And the final step, once again, is to actually approve him. And now this member is actually active. And so that was sort of a quick walkthrough of how both the membership application works, as well as how you actually process and approve your members once they have completed their membership application. But now that we have all these members loaded into our account, how do we actually display them and start to get members to get to know each other? So to do that, we could actually first set up a member directory. So again, we'll go to Web Pages and go to Page Management. Add new page. And again, we'll select the type of page it is. In this case, it's a member directory. Again, we'll give access to anybody, but keep in mind actually that as well as being able to set up all these public pages, you can actually also set up pages that are restricted to certain membership levels or certain groups. And this actually allows you to, for instance, create a private member directory. You can even create a gold member directory where only gold members can have access to that directory. So you can really split it up between the groups and the different membership levels in any way that you want. So you'll actually be able to offer quite a diverse set of content for all your different members. So again, we'll save all changes. And let's go ahead and take a look at that page. So we'll just use this quick link here to go to the page, but we could also browse to it using site pages. Let's actually take a look at how we do that, just so you can see. So again, site pages, in here I have my live preview of my website. Now let's click on directory. And I'll just click on the edit settings at the top here. And so now there's actually quite a few settings for your member directory because we know how important it is for everyone to actually be able to customize and control what information is displayed about their members. So you'll see we have quite a few options. First of all, you can select which membership levels are actually displayed. So maybe your free members actually don't get displayed on the member directory. Maybe only your gold ones do. Maybe your gold members only get displayed on your private member directories. These are all options that you can customize to really fit the needs of your organization. But in this case, let's keep it simple and let's say that all members are going to be displayed here. And you can also enable browsing. Now, what browsing is it's actually the option to select different fields to browse by. So for instance, you have a state option where they can click through different states to browse through different members of different states within the US. These are all options that you can set up yourself. Next, we also have the option of simple or advanced search. Now, basically what this is simple search just allows you to use a keyword search where if the keyword matches any of the information displayed in the member directory, it'll actually pull up those records that match that search. But maybe you have so many members or so much information that you want to give your members a little more advanced tools. And the advanced search actually allows them to add in criteria where they could say, show me all the members who are gold members and are also in Alaska, for instance. But in this case, we'll just keep it to a simple search. And here we can actually customize all the different columns of information that you're displaying within your member directory. So for instance, maybe you just want to display the first name and last name, but not the email or not the phone, maybe just the organization. Maybe you want to display a logo or their profile picture within the member directory, but you don't want to display say their current job title or something like that. You can customize exactly which fields are displayed here, and it's completely under your control. But I think for now we'll just leave the default. So we see here we have first name, last name, organization. I think those defaults serve us pretty well for now. But again, you can customize this at any time. So here we see it. Here we see our full member directory. And again, here we do have our simple search enabled. So for instance, if I just started typing a name, you'd see the results change instantly. So if someone's just looking for someone by name, they could do so really quickly and then just click on that link and that would take them to that member's profile. And so there we go. I think in just under 30 minutes, we've actually already learned how we can import our members into our membership database, how we can customize our different membership levels, and then how we can customize the actual fields of information we're recording for our members, and then back again to how we can actually display those members in a member directory. Now that's by no means all the features of the Wild Apricot, but I think it's a pretty good overview of the member section. So now let's actually start exploring some of the other fun sections of the Wild Apricot that actually help you to promote your organization. So for instance, I think it's all well and nice to be collecting membership applications and be displaying information about your members, but I think you really want to do some things to engage your members into your organization. So let's actually take a look at our events feature within Wild Apricot. So what this actually allows you to do is to create any event. And I think first off, if we just take a look at the form here, you'll see some of the things that you expect, but I think I'll show you some things that you might not expect right away. So for instance, you definitely see things like an event title, so you could have a member and public lunch. We could give it some tags. We won't really worry about these tags just yet, but we will explore them a little bit later because they do allow you to do some really interesting things. We'll select a start date. So what we'll do is we'll select March 30th. So you could even see if I really needed to set up an event for even today, I could definitely do that. And because it is a lunch, actually here we'll set it for tomorrow. And because it's a lunch, we'll let it start at around 11, and we'll say that it runs until about 2, just to give our members enough time to chit-chat. And so now we can actually also edit the description of what people will see for this event, and we can obviously format it however we'd like, including bullets and tables and anything like that. We could also include a picture if we wanted to. We would just select the picture icon. We could either choose a picture that we've already added to our website, or we could actually browse our computer to add our own picture. And then if we need to resize that image, we can do that quickly just using the built-in tools here. And then we just choose Insert Picture, and that's it. In just a couple of seconds, I took a picture from my computer and added to the event description. Now let's actually look at the event setup that we can do within Wild Apricot. So first of all, we could customize the registration form, just like we customize our membership application form. We can customize the event registration form. We could add additional fields with all those options. But actually, let's just take a quick look at one of the fields already here, which is called Meal Choice. And here you can see that we can have different options for different meal choices for our attendees, and we could also assign a separate price for those meal choices if you wanted to add to the cost of their membership. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is, but obviously you could add any specific information that you need to collect for your event. Next, we have registration types, and now in the sample event, we already have a couple added here, but let's actually just add another one of our own registration types. So for instance, let's say we wanted to add an early bird registration price. So we want to give people a little incentive or a little push to actually register for this event as soon as possible. So we could say that this early bird registration is available until the 30th. And we can set the price and whether or not this person can also bring guests or not. But for now, we'll just say that no, this is only available to one registration. And so there we have actually our 3 different registration types. But let's take a look at some of the options for each of them. So you'll notice there's quite the incentive here at $5 to join a $100 event. But you can definitely that's definitely really just to serve as an example of just how customized you can make all the different registration options. So now, for instance, when I click on the member registration type, and now so when people see these is when they first click on the event and click to register, they'll actually see the different options that apply to them. If they're a member, they'll see this member registration option. But the great thing is that each registration type doesn't necessarily apply to all your members. So maybe you want to give your gold members a lower price than maybe your free members or your corporate members. It's completely up to you. And for all of them, you can choose whether or not they're allowed to bring a guest. And if they are allowed to bring a guest, should you charge the same price as you charge the person registering for the guest, or do you charge a special price, perhaps free? Maybe you don't want to charge for your guests. It's completely up to you how you set up your event registrations. And so next we'll actually look at the different emails that we can set up. And again, I think this is actually one of the more powerful things that you'll see in Wild Apricot that you won't probably find everywhere else, is with all your events, you can choose when people should be sent reminders and when you should actually send out announcements for the event and the different emails that you should send once they've either started the registration for the event or they paid for the registration for the event. You can customize all these emails, and we will look at the emails specifically in a moment, but this just gives you a different idea of all the different announcements and reminders you can actually send. And finally, once people actually are registering for the event, what you'll notice is you get a great breakdown of the different types of registrations that you have. For instance, you could view all your completed registrations, you could view all your registrations that require some attention, so perhaps maybe it's a manual registration you've recorded but haven't confirmed yet. Or maybe there's some registrations that are still in progress, and maybe there's some that are canceled. So if anyone calls you and says, you know, oh, I processed my registration, but I wasn't sure how to finish, you could see all those records and help them out really quickly. And so again, that's actually how you set up your events and set all the different settings. Let's actually take a quick look at how what that looks like from the point of view of the visitor or the member. So again, here we have this events page. And here we go. Here we see that event that we just created a few moments ago. And you can also choose which type of view is displayed. So you could have displayed as an actual event. And again, they could just click on that event there and start the registration just like you did the membership application and fill out all the information and be registered in just a few moments. And now finally, what I'll actually do is I'll give you a quick overview of some of the other functions or features that you might like within Wild Apricot. Specifically, once you have all this information set up, you can also set up different routing instructions. And what I mean by routing instructions is Wild Apricot also generates a lot of notifications or a lot of email notifications, so you can actually set out which email notifications get sent to which of your administrators. And of course, when you're actually getting ready to get your account fully set up, you can also set up your payment settings. And again, this is where you actually add in your payment processor. So you'll have to get an account with PayPal or Authorize.net or Google Checkout, and you simply add it here, and then that's all you need to do to start accepting online payments through your Wild Apricot account. And finally, just like I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, let's actually take a look at how we format and start working with emails. Now, when working with emails, we actually have a couple different options. We can either edit the system emails, or the ones that are sent out automatically based on your settings. So for instance, maybe the member reminder emails or the renewal reminder emails. So for instance, we have the application initiation, we have the member activation email, we have a reminder 1, reminder 2. These are all the different emails that you have within the system. And when we're actually editing these emails, what you see is we have all the same tools that you'd expect in a current modern email editor. You can insert pictures, links to documents, insert tables, and format all of this content just in the way that you would like to customize that email for whoever it's getting sent to. So those are all the automatic emails, so the event reminder emails, the renewal reminder emails. Let's finally take a look at how you actually manually send an email, or perhaps a newsletter to all your members. So the first thing you would do is you would go to Contacts, and then the first thing you want to do is define who you want to send this to. So for instance, let's say that I only wanted to send this email to my gold members. I'd first go to an advanced search, select membership level from the criteria, and then I can start defining who I want to send this to. So for instance, if I just wanted to send to my gold members, I would select gold and click search, and here are my 8 gold members. Now all I have to do is just click email contacts, and then I can start to compose my email, insert my pictures, and finally send that email out. The one thing you will notice for sure is that we actually have these special tokens here, what we call macros, and this is what actually allows you to customize your email when you're sending it out to multiple people. So instead of it being Dear John Smith, you'd always format your emails using these macros that you find in this list, because it'll actually allow you to customize them. So for instance, we say Dear Contact First Name, Contact Last Name, and then we could insert some more macros or some more text and images here to finally compose that email and send it out. And then once it's sent, you'd also get a confirmation within the email sent folder to say which emails have been sent and which haven't been sent, so you can get a quick record of all the emails that are going out of your system. And now with that, I think I'll actually turn it over to Jay to see if we have any questions from this webinar.
Great, thanks, Frank. I got a question early on, and it might be worth reviewing a little further. Can you talk about incorporating Wild Apricot into an existing website?
Okay, so we actually do have 2 options for what. Yeah, so we have 2 options within Wild Apricot. You can either use as sort of an all-in-one solution where you're building a website inside Wild Apricot and hosting your contacts as well, or you can use what we call widgets, which allow you to more or less cut and paste pieces of Wild Apricot into an existing website. So for instance, let's say you just wanted your membership application, or you just wanted the event calendar. You could just grab this little bit of code here and then insert it into your website, and you'd have just that piece without any of the menus or without any of the header or anything like that.
Okay. When you import your contacts from your existing membership list, how would you give them passwords and let them know that they have an account?
Okay, yeah, so you have a couple options there. When you do your initial import, you can define a password. So if you had a column of data in your import file with the password, you can actually define the password there, and then when you're sending out those activation emails, it'll actually include the password in there. Or you can actually just include a link to allow them to set their own password in your member activation email, so that you're not actually having to set it for them, they can set it for themselves.
Great. Is it possible to accept payments online for events at the time they register for the event?
Absolutely, yeah. So once you've added an online payment processor, either PayPal, Authorize.net, or Google Checkout, you can enable online payments for everything. You can enable it for your membership application, for your event registrations, your donations, anything, any of the transactions that are going through Wild Apricot.
Great. Okay. Don't have any more questions right at the moment, but we'll wait a few seconds, see if anyone else has questions. Just a reminder that if you do have questions, you can type them in, and I will read them, obviously, to Frank. Or if you are feeling brave and you have your microphone or you're dialed in with the telephone, you can raise your hand. We'll unmute you, and you can ask your questions that way.
While we do wait for some questions, I'll actually just go over a couple more features that you might enjoy while you're using Wild Apricot. For instance, if you're ever on a page or ever within a section within Wild Apricot where you're not sure what to do, just hover over the help icon here and you'll see some default help items suggested, or you can do your own search. So for instance, if I wanted to learn more about the import, I could just type import and then it would actually take me to some more help documents. So for instance, if I wanted to go through the import guide, I could learn all about the import just by doing a quick and simple search from the website.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. That integrated help is really handy. I do have a couple more questions. Do emails always come through as Wild Apricot, or can that be customized?
That can be customized, so you can set actually where these emails are coming from and who your administrative contact is, so you can customize this.
Right, so you can see there you could change the name to whatever you wanted and change the contact information, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Are there safeguards to prevent multiple users from logging into one account?
Currently, if multiple users have know an email address and a password for an account, there's no sort of there's no way that we're currently detecting that. So they would be able to share that, but again, that would require them to share that access.
Right. Can you mask the URL so that you can't see the Wild Apricot in the URL? And I guess a related question would be using your own domain name.
Absolutely. So this address that you see here, the wildapricot.memberlodge.org, or it might be different when you actually create your account, is just the free one that we give you. If you actually upgrade, you can customize this to your own domain name, so yourorganization.com or .org or whatever your website address is. You can customize that and add actually as many as you want to your account.
Right, and we should say that Wild Apricot being in the URL for your demo is because you called it that. That's actually most of the URLs. They can include Wild Apricot. We have a free Wild Apricot domain name, but you can use. There's different ones that you can use that don't include the word Wild Apricot, right?
Absolutely. So you can even actually customize this at any time. So you could change it to whatever you want it to be while you're just setting up your account.
Right. Can you add additional storage capacity for images?
We do. We do have the option for you to add additional storage if you need it. That being said, we actually find most of our clients never request us for that because even the amount of space you get, even when you're adding images and things like that, it really doesn't take up that much space. But ultimately, yes, if you do need more space, you can add that to your account.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to do that, you just contact support and they can organize that for you, right?
Exactly.
Great. Our association has about 800 members, which is more than your $50 membership and far less than the $100 level. Is it possible to institute a $75 level for 1,000?
Jay, do you want to answer
that? Yeah, it's a question we've received multiple times. We are looking at revising our pricing structure, and we would very likely consider a level for 1,000 because we know it's a pretty big jump for a lot of organizations to go from the 500 to 2,000, and we know that there's lots kind of in that 1,000-ish range. So I'll be really honest, it's probably not something we're gonna do anytime soon because of the 3,500 existing customers that we'd have to revise their pricing if we were going to go forward with a new level. but it is something we're looking into, and hopefully we will be adding another level. Excuse me, I just noticed that we have someone with a hand up, and so I'll unmute Anne. Anne, are you there? Hello, Anne? Oh, not here. We're not hearing you, Anne. Sorry. If you do still have a question, you can type it in, and I will be happy to read it. Excuse me. A couple more questions. Are the PowerPoint slides available for review download to share with board members as education about the values of Wild Apricot? Yeah, there's a PowerPoint presentation that we have that you can link to. It's on wildapricot.com in the right-hand sidebar. It's right here, and in fact, the version that's there, I think we've actually just recently updated it. That might be the older version, but I think within the next couple of days, actually, we'll be putting up a new version of that. The one that's there is fine, but we are revising it. We've just been working on a new version of that, so hopefully that has all the information that you need if you want to share with board members and others as far as the value of Wild Apricot goes. Some more questions. Sorry, I'm just losing track of where I was here. Is there an option to have a database larger than 15,000?
No, currently this isn't an option. It's kind of a fixed limit for us. But the great thing is if at any time you do need to expand beyond that, you can actually export all your members and all your contacts at any point. So it's not like you're ever locked into Wild Apricot. So if it's something where you think it's going to happen, you can use us up until that point, and then if you really do need to move on to something that does support that, then you can definitely do that. Or who knows, maybe by that point we might also support more than 15,000.
Right. And that's also on our, along with the pricing changes, that's also something that we're considering is a technical capability and a pricing structure for larger amounts. Oh, I like this question. A question, if I choose Wild Apricot, I have to sell it to a 15-person board. Do you have a 30-minute or so overview video explaining the features? And in fact, we just finished a brand new video. It's about 15 minutes long, actually. But for the person who's asking this, I think it's Nathan. Nathan, if you could send me a direct email, we've literally just finished this in the last couple of days, so I can send you a direct link to that, and we'll be posting it on the site very shortly. But it's a YouTube video, and yeah, it's hopefully exactly what you're looking for. It's about 15 minutes, and it's a complete overview of, at a very high level, of course, of all the features of Wild Apricot. When members are logged in, does it show who is on to the other members?
No, so we don't have like a who's online sort of feature yet. I think that is one of the things that has been suggested before. Actually, I'll also take this opportunity to introduce you to our feature form, where I think unlike maybe many other software providers, we actually discuss all of our plans and all the things that we're currently working on with everyone. So you'll definitely find that feature actually in one of these posts here. And you can contribute your thoughts, and then you can see maybe how we can incorporate your ideas into maybe creating something like that.
Great. Well, it's coming up on the top of the hour, and we don't have any more questions at this time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you do think of questions, and invariably as soon as we end the webinar, a lot of people will think of questions, please make a point of emailing them to support@wildapricot.com. Frank or one of his colleagues will be more than happy to answer your questions during your trial period. And just to mention that, one more thing is, if you haven't already signed up for your free trial, please make sure to go to wildapricot.com, click on the nice friendly free trial link that Frank is showing there, and sign up for your trial. It's 30 days. It's absolutely free. We don't take any credit card information. It's just an email, and that's all you need. So thanks once again for joining us, and thank you, Frank, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed it.